Good morning. Welcome to our daily devotion. It is Saturday, February 6th. I want to thank those of you that continue to watch these devotions. Thank those of you that choose to share them. Thank those of you that have committed to these devotions, that watch them on a daily basis. As I tell you many times, God will honor that. Trust me. Good morning, Mary. He will honor that. We're in Matthew chapter 8. Good morning, Sherry. Good morning, Paul. I'm going to read verses 8 through 13. Interesting story. It said, when Jesus had entered Capernaum, a centurion came to him, asking for help. Lord, he said, my servant lies at home paralyzed and in terrible suffering. Jesus said to him, I will go and heal him. The centurion replied, Lord, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof, but just say the word and my servant will be healed. For I myself am a man under authority with soldiers under me. I tell this one, go, and he goes, and that one, come, and he comes. I say to my servant, do this, and he does it. When Jesus heard this, he was astonished and said to those following him, I tell you the truth, I have not found anyone in Israel with such great faith. I say to you that many will come from the east and the west and will take their places at the feast with Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob in the kingdom of heaven. But the subjects of the kingdom will be thrown outside into the darkness where there will be the weeping and gnashing of teeth. Then Jesus said to the centurion, go, it will be done just as you believed it would. And his servant was healed at that very hour. Interesting now. This centurion was a leader in the Roman army. He was a leader of anywhere from 80 to 100 troops. He was not a Jew. He was not part of God's chosen people. How we heard about Jesus, we don't know. So far in the reading of Matthew, Jesus only did the healing of the leper. But we do read in John, at the end of John, it says Jesus did many other things as well. If every one of them were written down, I suppose that even the whole world would not have room for the books that would be written. So Jesus probably did many other things that are not recorded here by the apostles. But either way, the centurion heard about Jesus, had enough faith to believe that Jesus would heal him. He was also very humble enough not to think too highly of his position, but rather to lift Jesus up in his position. Look at verse 8 where he says this, I do not deserve to have you come under my roof. Extremely humble, even though of his position in the army. So reading all this, what does this tell us? When we read this, we have to, now later on, of course, Jesus talks about, telling his followers, not every one of you that are God's chosen people are going to be going into the kingdom of heaven. There's going to be people coming from all other places they're going to be, and you yourselves thrown out. It's all about putting our faith in Jesus. Good morning, Veronica. Good morning, Jason. Good to see you. So what does this tell us? Whenever we read scripture, we need to ask ourselves, what is God telling us today? Too many times, people think more highly of themselves than they should, believing that God will treat them better, believing that God will find favor with them, that God will bless them financially because of how harder workers they are, that God will heal them because of their value to God, that God will answer their prayers because of how religious they are. We can all think a little too highly of ourselves. Good morning, Roz. Very easily to think highly of ourselves. However, Scripture tells us that God hates the proud, but gives favor to the humble. So how humble are you? How humble are you? How highly do you think of yourself? Right? I try to be as humble as I can, thinking of how much God is using me, right, even to this day. Like I sit there and think, my oldest brother, who was 4 years older than me, got cancer, died. Now my brother, that's 2 years older than me, has cancer, is dying, and I sit there thinking, I'm only 2 years younger. It would be proud of me to think, oh, well, God would never give me cancer because I have all of this work to do for him. It's easy to start thinking that way, to think too highly of ourselves. Like, God doesn't need any of us. It's like, have you ever wondered, I always thought, like this last lottery that was $1 billion, and I always think, God, why didn't you have one of your people, a Christian, win that lottery, and they could have done great work with it? And it's like God saying, I have I own all the money. I don't need it. I don't need it. I don't need money to do my work. God doesn't need Jim to do his work. God can do it with or without me. My job is to try to stay humble, and sometimes it can be a little hard. Sometimes when you start getting high views. There was one week where Impact and Crash between the two received 460 views, and I was kind of like taken back, kind of like, wow, what happened? What? Then I started like, I must have been the topic, the way I worded the topic. It must have been the message, and it was like, you fool, Jim, you fool. It was God, because he knocked me down. The very next week, I got 60 views from the two messages, from 460 down to 60. God has a way of humbling us. So I try very hard to give credit to God, and not to take any of the successes. If I'm not willing to take the failures, then I don't deserve to take the successes either. So how humble are you? Do you think too highly of yourself sometimes? Do you think that God deserves to give you favor because of who you are or what you do? Easy to do that sometimes. Jesus also emphasized that the centurion had more faith than even God's chosen people. In verse 10, he says this, I say to you that verse 10, I tell you the truth, I have not found anyone in Israel with such faith. This centurion, this Roman soldier, not a part of God's people at all, had more faith than the Jewish people that were chosen by God. I see this today. I see great faith, and I follow India quite a bit because we sponsor two ministries there in India. Good morning, Albert. And so I see in India, I make comparisons because we're blessed so many ways here in America, and how much we take that for granted. Complaining. I hear people complaining about the size of the stimulus check they got. Like, sheesh. $600. What do they expect us to do with $600? Do you realize the people in India how excited they would be if they received $600 free? $600 if each individual in India got $600, if each individual in Africa got $600, Iran, and we're complaining about the size of our stimulus check. Complaining where we have to live. Gosh, I have to live in a 2-bedroom with only one bath, 3-bedroom with only one bath. I have to live in an apartment upstairs. I got to walk up the stairs. We complain about where we live, where those in India have little choices. We complain about our meals. How many times have you complained about a meal? I'm going to be honest with you. My brother's out here with his girlfriend, and we ordered a meal from Rodrigo's, and we share it, and my wife and I ordered a fajita, and they ordered a meal. And when we got back, there was ingredients missing out of my wife and I's fajita that we got. And the time before, we didn't get any tortillas, and this time there was supposed to be shrimp in it. There was no shrimp, and I'm like sitting there like, I don't even feel like eating it, man. I didn't even get what I ordered. complaining, complaining. Do you realize the people in India, if they could have a choice of going out to eat, that they could go to a restaurant and order what they want? Holy, listen to this now. We sponsor orphans there in India, and they are taken care of. They get a place to live. They get their clothing. They get their education, and they get their meals. But here's their meals. They get 2 meals a day of rice and water, and one of the meals they get a piece of chicken in it. And that's how they lived that's how they lived in certain orphanages. And imagine how grateful they would be if they had the meal that I had sitting in front of me. Easy to complain, isn't it? We complain that we can't meet inside our churches. Oh my goodness, we can't even meet inside a church anymore. They don't even have churches to meet in. Sandeep's mom that's doing ministry now, they're looking for another yard to meet in, because where they were meeting before, the neighbors were all complaining, and so they have to find another place they were shut down. Now when the pandemic is over, they have to find another place to meet. They're satisfied meeting in the backyard. Good Samaritan, they're just now starting to build a building, and it'll be a crude building. It won't be a fancy building like we have here in America. So spend a few minutes just thanking God for everything that He's blessed you with. Don't be so proud to think that we deserve everything that we have. We need to take time to really bless God. Really thank God for how He has blessed us, especially in comparison to many other countries. And please don't ever think too highly of yourself. Thank you for watching. Tomorrow is Sunday. We will have our regular service at 10 o'clock as always, and then the children's at 11. So I appreciate those of you that are watching these videos. Appreciate those of you that are sharing them. So for those that are committed to these daily devotions, I will see you next Monday at 8 o'clock, okay? God bless you. Have a great day.